A ceasefire was signed between Israel and Hamas and the entire Gaza Strip back in October 2025. Yet the killings haven't stopped. The cameras left, the headlines have moved on, but Gazans are still suffering genocide. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what is happening now, why the ceasefire changed nothing, and how peace plans are being used to finalize displacement in the ironically called Trump Board of Peace. Now, the ceasefire did not end any violence. Since the ceasefire was signed, Israel has killed over 500 Palestinians and wounded over 1,400. Israel has also, despite the public opposition by the Trump administration, has continued to annex land and push people out of the occupied West Bank. At the same time, Israel has continued its practice of killing journalists inside Gaza. Since the beginning of the genocide in 2023, Israel barred journalists from the international journalist community from reporting inside the Strip, and those inside Gaza have been deliberately targeted in strikes by the Israeli government. They have been threatened. They've been told to stop doing what they're doing, and they've been told specifically their families and them will eventually be killed. Recently, the IDF killed Abid Shah, Mohamed Keshta, and Anas Ghanem, three journalists attempting to cover a refugee camp. Israel confirmed that they deliberately targeted the car that they were in, saying that they thought they were doing reconnaissance on Israeli soldiers. There's no evidence for this because there's been no evidence for anything Israel has stated thus far. While Israel has been deliberately targeting journalists, they've also been targeting doctors and children. They banned Doctors Without Borders, as well as 58 or more other organizations that were doing charitable works in Gaza to help the people of Gaza recover. And during all of this, they have continued to push forth their main goal of complete control of the Gaza Strip and the expulsion of the Palestinian people. The international community has done nothing to enforce the ceasefire. The United States, who brokered this ceasefire on a 20-point peace plan, has done absolutely nothing to tell Israel to stop this. There's been no enforcement of any of Israel's agreed upon structures, such as Israel allowing the maximum number of aid that they're supposed to allow every day. They've let in less than half of the aid trucks every single day since the ceasefire. They just now opened the Rafah crossing, allowing few Palestinians who are in dire need of medical attention to leave, and the world's gone quiet. And the Board of Peace is the final nail in the coffin for the Palestinian people. Norman Finkelstein wrote a really good article that I'll link into the description, as well as my Substack, which also sources it, about how the Board of Peace and the Security Council's ratification of the Board of Peace pretty much put the nail in the coffin of the Palestine question and gave Gaza over to Donald Trump. The Board of Peace decision by the Security Council took away 8 decades of the United Nations decisions, mainly being that the only way for there to be peace in this region is for Palestinians to have a right to self-determination and for there to be a two-state solution, a Palestinian state and a Israeli state agreed on by the 1948 partition. That has all been erased. Now, instead, the Board of Peace is going to be headed by Donald Trump and ran by his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, as well as others, including Benjamin Netanyahu, the head of the genocide in Gaza. And it has been made very clear that the point of this Board of Peace is to get the Palestinians out and give Israel the land. I'll get to that point in a second because that's not as simple as I just said it is. But this has been the goal. The Board of Peace, as the Board of Peace in the Gaza Plan, as revealed by Kushner at Davos, looks to turn Gaza into a beachfront community with nice big skyscrapers. It's been compared to Abu Dhabi or Las Vegas. Great. This is the final colonialist picture that we've seen. We see here in America, we've seen it in Britain, everywhere. Eliminate the indigenous people and then raise up your structures of your own people and the images of corporate capitalism that we're seeing every day. The problems with this are monstrous. Outside of the already talked about genocidal intent and the expulsion and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, The Board of Peace plan for Gaza is deeply flawed. It states that it wants to rebuild Gaza within 2 to 3 years. The best estimates and the most modest estimates are that it will take 10 years to just clear all the rubble because of the unexploded ordinances, the dead bodies, etc. And of course, there is the massive problem that was raised, which is you're going to get rid of all the people living there. Where are they going to go? And how are you going to reintegrate them into the society? Well, I'll answer that for you right now. They're going to kick them out. They're going to permanently kick them out. They're going to make these people live in refugee camps in other countries, as they've been doing since 1948 and then 1967. And then they're going to rebuild it. And the Trump administration, and this is the point that I said I talked about too simply earlier, here's the more detailed version. And the Trump administration, or Donald Trump, who is the head of Board of Peace, indefinitely. So if the Board of Peace continues past 2027, as it's assigned to now, which it almost most certainly will, considering the United Nations is currently in a free fall because of Trump's current policies, Donald Trump will sell pieces of Gaza land to Israel at high prices, enriching his family and all of his friends. That is my personal prediction and speculation. That's what it appears to look like. And all at the same time, the Palestinian people are not even being considered with any of this because there's nothing to consider. This is what colonialism is. You don't consider the people who are already there. You don't consider what they might want or their needs. You simply say, we want this land. And in the idea, in Israel's mind, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, all of it is their land anyway, already. There's just people living there. But you say, this is our land. We don't care about these people. And you do whatever it is to get them out of there so you can do whatever you want there. And this will have drastic consequences going down the road. Egypt, who has completely capitulated with all of this, is going to face dire consequences in the future. So will Jordan, Lebanon too. Syria, it's Syria is currently facing dire consequences. Israel just keeps taking more and more of their land because Israel wants all of it. And as long as they have someone like Donald Trump in office, as well as the rest of the United States presidents, excuse me, as long as Israel has allies like the United States, which they almost certainly will forever at this point from what it looks like, they're going to continue to do this. And this is just setting up more and more touchstones for what the future of the world is going to look like. So Gaza is still enduring genocide every single day. Despite what you hear, despite what you read, that's what's going on. If you want to support Gazans, the first link in the description is always a link to how you can donate and send food or supplies to Gaza. The second link will be my Substack article, which goes into a bit more detail and has the sources that I'm using to give this talk. And then the last one will be the Norman Finkelstein article that I described earlier. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe more. But remember, we need to work together. All right, take care.